Alright guys, welcome back to the series' Adult Adventure video. Look what I just got. I'm telling you, I pull way too many bans, man. It is on the standard banner too. So don't feel too bad about if you can't get a chance to actually miss him. You will be able to get him a bunch of times on the standard banner. Like I've done the most of any character in the game. I know I'm lucky, but let's jump into the main part of the video. Alright, so I've been asked a lot of times the last few days now is what team should I be building? And also, you know, some team recommendations. Now, I would say before we get into the video, most of the time, what you can do is just whack your strongest units onto one team. If you go towards top rankings, I mean, while there is some coherent team building, we'll talk about it in a second, most of the time, and the reason why you're seeing so many different characters on different teams, rather than everyone just copying one exact team. So most of the teams you're seeing is just their strongest characters that they can put on one team. But also, every boss does change. So right now, I have a blue boss, and then I go up against a red boss. Your teams are going to keep on changing, so you will be a lot of times switching between colors, or at least some part of your team, to make sure you always have a type advantage unit on your team. And then when it comes towards team building, a lot of times, and to be fair, the way I've been playing the game, and to be fair, even if you look at top ranks right now, you will see that everyone is going towards D2 tanks. Wilo and also Delgado. Most of your team building revolves around one of these two characters. I don't think there's a better option. I think most people are going towards where they have higher dupes for, but also, depending on what maybe the boss is, you can kind of switch and choose, because I know for me personally, once again, talking a lot about Delgado, he can taunt, and you'll start to find a few bosses that kind of ignore the tank and go straight towards your highest DPS target. That is where Delgado comes in, to where he can taunt the character, focus their attention towards him, and then make your highest DPS survive. You be switching, I guess, Delgado out with Wilo, but those will be your main tanks. Next is healers. Most of the people right now have just been going towards Gloxinia, because people are starting to get him duped out a little bit more. But if you don't have Gloxinia, then you can just go towards Garad, which is fitting because they are brothers and sisters. But I still haven't even really bothered using Gloxinia. I mean, I'm starting to get him duped out, so I will start using him, but Garad also works too. The next thing I want to talk about is the differences between AoE characters and also single target characters. When you're doing boss fights, for example, using a Meliodas, if you have a little bit duped out, at least in comparison towards Kayn, then I do think Melee is a better DPS for single target bosses. As you can see, his range is 30. But then when you get towards Kayn, for example, he is got bigger AoE damage, 50 on most of his skills actually, and that is where Kayn is going to do a lot better when it comes towards characters that have more than one bosses, so PvP content, or of course Tower of Trials. And you'll see that more importantly with Gilfrost, because he's got some really big AoE skills, being 65. And yeah, as you can see in single target bosses, because well, Kayn's not doing big AoE damage, once again he's still obviously competing, but you saw Melee did more there, because Melee obviously specializes a little bit more in single target damage. Where if you take these characters towards big AoE content like Tower Trials with the multiple enemies, you can see Kayn just does way more than Melee, because he's able to hit more people with his skills rather than Melee, which is mostly single target. And yeah, that does apply towards Gilfrost too, because you'll see right now his numbers, because everyone is so clumped together, is doing comparable damage towards Barn, because to be fair, Barn is obviously just insane, but like, he's competing, and he's doing way more than everyone else, despite him being a support character. Not even a DPS. None of his skills do increase damage. It's just because he's got actual big AoE damage that he's hit everyone, and just got a really fast attack speed too. Okay, so for the first team, this is what everyone should be building up to. And guys, you're going to see it a lot in these teams, but, you know, throw it in Barn and King. It's just like the best optional combo you can do, so you know, we're going to see a lot of him, right? But to lean a bit more into what is King's abilities, which is to buff up 7-8 Singe characters, but also the Dex characters, the blues, you want to go towards more of like a little bit of a blue team. Now, granted, like I said, we have some slots available, so if you want to substitute a healer in, or maybe you get some better dupes and characters, like for example, right now, I have been using Galland because I managed to get him towards 3-star, to where right now he actually is usable. So if you get Galland, depending on his dupe level for your account, you could actually use him very, very good for single target bosses. I actually just got slated towards 3-star, so he's now a bit more usable. But yeah, just throwing in any blue character would do wonders actually. In fact, Zenari is actually a really good healer people are starting to use, because she's getting more duped out a little bit, but she does heal based off her attack, and the heal she does do is like a just straight heal, not a like a rejuvenate a little bit like how Garad does it. So for her, for example, getting buffed up from King is actually very, very good, but you're not gonna have access towards all those characters. So what you could just do is throw in like a Delgy, for example, who I'm actually like really starting to like, especially in like AoE content, Tower Trials, PvP, because you're actually gonna get more accuracy. Now bear in mind, accuracy is, I don't think that important in PvE content. A little bit more, I'd say, in PvP, because you're going to be versus people maybe a little bit higher in rank, so their actual evasion is going to be a bit higher. So get a bit more accuracy for PvP, when she does also 65 AoE damage, or, you know, skills. Hey, she's going to be really good too. Plus, her ultimate does buff up the actual blue damage, which is what King does, but worse. However, in like an ultimate rotation, you can put King first, or when his eventually runs out, you can then use Deldry. So I've been sleeping a bit onto her, but I'm definitely going to start using a little bit more. But that's if you go towards like a full blue team. You don't need to. Now, I will say, bear in mind, this team is going to get a lot better. King does buff up 7-day synth characters, and we just saw, of course, with Meliodas, the new one, Lost Vein, he came out, so he fits naturally into this team. So, of course, the next 3 characters probably likely coming towards the game, Golfer, Merlin, and Escanor, they're going to fit really well to this team. Now, granted, they're going to be legendary characters, so you're not going to have access towards all of them, but, you know, it's something to build towards to where this is probably going to be the go-to team. Now, once again, come down towards your dupe levels. I do see people using Dale. Dale is a blue character, which, you know, can stun bosses, which, hey, good against some bosses, right? And again, crit chance for himself. You know, he's going to naturally be the character you can get towards the higher dupe level just by playing the game, right? Like, right now, mine is, what, 13 star? Almost 14, and could get towards True Awakening. So at that point, you know, he's going to have pretty good stats and be a pretty good blue DPS where you can actually use him. Because yeah, he got 24k attack, and I'm not even fully leveled him up yet, where he has got more attack than my mod, for example. So yeah, that is where like these actual epics can be a bit more usable when you start duping up to higher levels. Henderson isn't too bad. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he's going to be a character you're going to naturally get higher dupe levels anyway, so why not, right? Why not? So yeah, with this team, any blue can be good. Just throw them in if they are decent dupe level. But I'd say these 4 are like the core pieces you're going to go towards. And like I said, when you start piecing things together, your team can look something like this a little bit, right? Just once again, depending on your dupe level. So yeah, that is the blue assassin team. Once again, probably one of the go-to teams I recommend start building up. It's just super easy, right? Like, just having access towards the best buffer, it's going to work a lot of time. Okay, so next team is going to be what is basically like an int team or yellow team, but also just a barn buff team. While, yes, we are utilizing some actual synergies with the yellow characters, the main goal is to buff up Barn's damage. So, King, we spoke about, buffs up Sin, so buffs up Barn. But in getting these 2 free to plays, which is what you lot are going to get access to, obviously very, very easy. And that is, obviously, Arthur giving your Barn more crit damage. So, hey, he's critting more, he's dealing more damage. You know, a pretty straightforward combo. Also Lauren defense, so you're doing more damage generally anyway. And then Gilthunder can also be thrown in the team as well, to where he's known critical defense, which means when you do crit, you're doing more damage. So you're starting to see the combo come to life there a little bit, where Arthur's making you crit more, Gilthunder's making your crits do more damage as well, and then also you're doing shock, so you're doing more damage over time. We saw already with mod and other characters, they actually do alright. And then of course as well, Barn just being broken. Like, these 4 characters right here can be a really, really good combo to use. And then what you can do is to start throwing in other characters that just work with the team. So of course, naturally bringing some more yellow characters where Arden's doing more damage with his actual, you know, ability, because he's getting the buffs from Arthur. But since Gilthunder is focusing on Lauren defense, that means it applies to the boss. That means other characters that aren't in colors can still benefit. So going back towards the last point, where you can start to throw in more blue characters, because now if we do crit, we're going to do more damage, because obviously Gilthunder's lowered the critical defense, and obviously King's buff has given us more crit damage. It's going to be a bit harder, and it may not be as good for you like super low levels, because your crit chance naturally isn't that high. But if they eventually do start critting, then hey, it's not the worst thing, right? And once again, you can kind of go back down and start throwing some more blue characters if you want to. Throw in another healer as well, and then kind of fill in slots when you need it. But yeah, these 4 right here are going to be a combo I see a lot of people use, and would be probably good at like an early rank. Okay, so next, this is not a team, by the way, but I want to talk about it. The Commandment team. So Commandments naturally, like standalone characters, are pretty good. You're seeing a lot of them do a lot of things, like just more than other characters. Like Galan getting immune to Petrify on his tier 1 skill. A lot of characters in the game just don't do anything on a tier 1 other than just damage. And then once again, just piecing it all together, you're starting to see these characters do have some synergy. As Manaskina, for example, can buff out crit damage for obviously 10 commandments. It's just, they're missing a lot. And granted, they're also legendary, so not everyone can get them towards high dupe levels, but I do think it's worth mentioning them because, well, we are, even though I don't know where the story ends literally at the final episode of season 1. So when we start getting season 2 content, you know, Escanor as well, right? we're going to get more commandments. And like I said, they've even added a lot of commandments apart from the 3 big ones that, of course, are going to make a lot of money. That being Derriere, Estarossa, and also Zeldris. You can imagine those 3 characters, especially Zeldris, for example, is going to specialize on probably buffing up, you know, commandments, right? Now, granted, I feel like they might do what they did similar towards, obviously, Masculine, where they do buff up commandments, but you also buff up green characters, blue characters, whatever color they decide to be. So yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning because I know a lot of people are gonna like, you know, Dev Ray, for example. I'm really looking forward towards how coming towards the game. Estarossa, even Zeldris. So, you know, keep an eye on this team. Slowly working it. I say working it. Just if you get dupes for them, be, you know, a little happy that these could become more usable in the future. Before I mention them. Next team I want to talk about that I think is being used towards the top ranks in PvP, right? Maybe that deserves its own video after you specialize more in AoE characters, but once again, this is a combo you could use that is like the Sin/Commandment team. Now, naturally speaking, these 3 buff up each other, and these 3 buff up each other, right? Because Manascula buffs up greens, actual crit damage. Also, I think the main thing is giving accuracy towards your allies, because once again, in PvP, you're actually versus people higher ranked than you, meaning they got better evasion, so accuracy sort of matters in that game mode a little bit. Gluxinia, good healer. Once again, a lot of people are using like mod actual, you know, actual damage over time ability, so getting immunity for that is really good too. Crit defense, we talked about Guild Wonder. That means once again you're able to do more damage on your crits. Mon Speed is allowing us to crit more. He has ultimate ability that once again 65 big AoE damage, good for when they're all clumped together. Critical resistance, lowering it so it's easy to crit, and lowering the critical defense, which I don't think stack, but they might be able to, like, you know, coincide after each other. So like, if Manascula runs out, he gets his a little bit, and then also deals with, like, Hellblade is such a crazy ultimate, man. And then also as well, resource energy. Barnes also restoring energy, so you're getting best of both worlds a little bit too. And then Guildfrost, we spoke about a lot already. Big AoE damage. This ultimate can negate another ultimate whenever they do big nukes, like let's say, you know, Barn, King, other characters, and then once again he just AoE damage with his attack speed being 100. So yeah, that is the same team. A little bit well heavy because it does require a lot of legendary characters, and this is more or less for PvP. But I think you could get away with using it in actual PvE content. It's just the problem may be that you have better teams to use, right? But even then, you can kind of sub out, you know, Guildfrost, who I said was good for PvP, and then once again throw in a blue character, right? Like throw in Dale or something. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is full color teams. Now, naturally, you're not going to use these while climbing through the main story quest, but hey, maybe if you want to keep on switching, if you want to do it, then you can. But if you find a green boss, then yeah, I guess going with a full red team would be pretty good. But when you start clearing through Tower Trials, now granted, it's going to be very hard when you start off the game, but as your account gets progressed, you'll kind of forget about it for about a week and then come back to it and clear through like 8 stages because it gets super easy because you realize my count has gone up a lot in the last like few days to where you can now start to clear them. But when you get towards hard difficulty, and to be fair, even during normal, you want to bring type advantage. They even explicitly say bring these type advantage and they start glowing. So you want to bring, if anything, a full actual like yellow team during the actual red stage. However, when you get towards the hard difficulty, you have to go into red stages with red characters. You can't bring type advantage, you have to bring type neutral, and you're forced to only bring red characters. Same goes for like full green team, same goes for full blue as well, and vice versa. So for this part of the video, I want to talk about what are the best full color teams. Now I will say yellow and blue are the only coherent teams that you can actually run. Right now, reds are sorely lacking. Also, same for green. Green is in a very, very bad spot, right? Because these haven't got any green characters, which is why I think Esco's can be a green character. But yeah, for the red team, once again, there's not that many characters you can bring because, once again, they're just really, really bad. But Diane, one of the best tanks in the game, assuming you can do per out, so her working isn't too bad. I talked a lot about Delgado. He's very similar, is Wrath, because he does do the Veil buff, right? It's just, I'd rather go towards Delgado because you can actually taunt. But when you can only use a red character, he's basically a substitute Delgado who can also heal himself as well. He isn't that bad. So, 2 really, really good tanks for the red team. And then also as well, we have our red options, Kane and also Ren. Especially in PvE content like this Tower Trials where there's a lot of bosses, Kane is going to be your best damage dealer. Melly just came out. He's going to be a really good red DPS as well. Gelda, going to be a little bit dupe dependent because she is, I mean, she's got big AoE damage, right? 65 actual range. She couldn't do a lot, but once again, comes down towards dupes. She's going to be a little bit of a good healer, which I think is the only healer for Reds, if I'm not mistaken. No, Death Pierce does heal and flinches. That's more towards bosses though, but yeah, I think I might go for Gelda. But yeah, Illet and also Hellbrun buff up crit chance. But yeah, if we start right now, you'll see that we'll probably do I don't think we'll clear it, but you'll see right now, Kane's probably like 1 million damage once it hits. And there it goes. So 100 million basically. Once again, Kane being alright. I'm surprised he lets doing damage actually. But once again, I think it comes down towards the fact that these characters are a bit AoE. So once again, in these actual game modes, AoE characters are always going to shine a little bit. But you're seeing Ren and Osameli, who are actual single target damage dealers, are still catch up a little bit. But once again, I think it comes down to the fact that I'm not healing enough. 45 million. I think we can clear through if we had got better RNG a little bit. I think maybe just once again, probably level up my count a little more here will make me clear it. But yeah, that is like the full red team. Okay, so the full green team, like I said, it's not the greatest. I mean, it works actually. So Monspeed, Gloxinia, and Melascula, you can use at low deep levels because once again, Monspeed has big AoE damage, so his actual abilities are going to work. Sure, he may not be a good DPS, but he's getting the abilities off. That's what matters. Gloxinia, low deep level, still heals a little bit. Melascula, increasing crit damage for greens, still works at low deep levels, and also giving accuracy. And then at this point, you have to use the 3 best DPSs in the game, which is awful greens, obviously. And that is Reinhardt, Melee, and also Bellion. Liz is actually pretty good for the green team, and once again, I think it's going to be better once we get Escanor if the character is green. But she does increase crit chance, which we saw a lot of characters like Arthur, for example, does really, really well. If we don't have that crazy broken green DPS that you can get access towards, like how we can with obviously Barn and also Arthur. So once we do get Escanor, if he is green, this is going to be really, really good as well. And then decreasing allies cooldowns is something we don't really see too much into the game. I believe it's her, and maybe I think that Solar does it. The epic for light characters do also do it, but it's only for 1 second. He actually got nerfed. And yeah, it's a really good ability because that means your ultimates are now not 10 seconds, but 8 seconds. So if we start, I mean, granted, my stage right now, I haven't actually gone through Tower Trials on the green stage, so I am way over leveled for this actual floor right now. Only floor 2. The others, I'm doing like floor 16, 18, right? So we are going to annihilate through it here, but you know, this is probably going to be your best green team for a while. For blue team, I don't need to talk too much about it because we kind of spent a lot of the video already talking about the best blue characters that work with King. But yeah, this team right here, Mod, Atra, Deldry being really good for obviously Tower Trials because she has a lot of AoE damage, of course. King being good AoE damage too. Galland, it looks like, yeah, it's 40. So it's a bit higher than usual, so it looks like it does a lot more damage. He's still more of a single target damage dealer, but a little bit more, so you do alright in some single target bosses. And Zaneri, probably the best blue healer. You can bring Dolores, but I feel like Zaneri is probably a bit better. Yeah, I think that'll probably run. So we go jump into a game right now, you'll probably see Deldry and King might do the most damage, I think, because they got AoE damage on this team. To be fair, I would say Draw will be good for this because Draw does have AoE Infect, and you can see there is Elizabeth healing the team as well, which will be pretty good if we had like an AoE Infect for the team. So Draw will come in clutch there. And in healing, Zaneri doing a lot as well. She does 42 million like just in one burst, and Atra obviously doing insane. I think we're just losing here because they're buying us a little bit annoyingly. So if I time my actual abilities a bit better, I probably wouldn't be able to cleanse the binds with Zaneri's actual ability. Gallant doing a lot though. We got max stats over the crit damage, which was insane. Didn't manage to clear through it because I guess my count is a bit underleveled, but that is another good blue team. And the final team, we have the full yellow team, the full int team. This one is going to be probably the one you can build up the most here, free to play a little bit because you have access towards a lot of them. Barn, having a rate up, you can get him duped out a lot more easier than any other character. Then you have obviously Guildfather we spoke about already, you get for free. Same goes for Arthur. Gilfrost being big AoE damage, going to do a lot of damage. Same goes for Arden, got some good AoE damage too. You do get DM maxed out quite easy. But bear in mind, for her second ability to work, you do have to bring a healer. So we have to bring someone like, obviously, Orlandi, because he does heal through his ultimate. So that is where it's going to be a bit better. Is there any other healers you can bring? I don't think so. I will say Gustav's really good because he does actually freeze the whole team, which could be good in PvP. But for right now, I'd rather not use him. And I think, yeah, I think he's the only healer. So you have to literally bring, I guess Elizabeth too. But I think you might want to bring Orlandi. So we start right now. You'll see definitely that Gilfrost is going to do a lot. It lags so much there. Okay, what's the damage saying? So Gilfrost should be starting to pick up a little bit here. Barnes doing a lot. I think it just depends on our crits because we have to get our crit buffs on. Diane is not doing as much as I thought she would, but it's not too bad. Okay, I think she's starting to pick up a little bit. It's definitely RNG heavy. It's depending on your crits, because you remember, you're lowering the crit defense and always increasing your crit chance. So, depending on the crits or not is what really matters here. So, you see, we're starting to pick up a little bit here, and we're super close to winning through it, and we didn't. So, I can definitely do that again and probably clip through it just for the fact that I think we got really unlucky with the crits there. So yeah, guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. Hopefully it did help out and hope you have now a better understanding about where to build teams a little bit. Now, granted, I will say I haven't talked too much about the gold dungeon and also the lab summer dungeon. I'm going to make that a separate video because you're more or less playing around the boss's mechanics rather than just going in to have advantage. So, yeah, guys, thank you for watching and, yeah, peace.